What up? It's the Vinny Rock Podcast. Hey, I'm doing another podcast of a podcast. I'm going to upload a podcast I did with Brotherhood of Fatherhood. I thought it was a pretty cool podcast. I want you guys to hear my side on parenting and raising kids. You guys already know. Most of you who've been listening to me for a while kind of know where I stand on shit. Stand on shit. That's pretty funny. Either way, I'm going to upload that. But before that, let me get to my sponsors. I'm going to start off with GMR Gold because I don't know if you know this, but gold is doing really well. It took a little bit of a dump again, but it goes right back up. Yeah, when it's high, sell. When it's low, hold. Either way, you got gold and silver. Those are doing really well right now. Something to look into is GMR Gold. And don't forget, also, Bullion Box. It's a subscription-based model. $100, $200, $300 models. They will send you $300, $200, $100, depending on the package of your choice, to your house in precious metals. I love it. You guys can check them out. Use my promo code VinnyRock or Rocco, or just let them know that I sent you. Get yourself a little discount. Beyond Clothing, outdoor expeditionary clothing, layered systems. I don't have to tell you. All you got to do is hit up beyondclothing.com. Check them out. You'll see the quality. I have a promo code there. Everything is going to be Rocco. Barry Law, that is the place you need to be if you're struggling to get the disability ratings that you deserve. Barry Law. Hit up Barry Law. They are veteran-owned and ran. They're there to help you. If you have questions on how to get a hold of them, you can hit me up personally, or you can go to the website at ptsdlawyers.com/Rocco or ptsdlawyers.com and let them know I sent you. They will help you get what you deserve. There's a podcast I did on them. You can hear all about it, how they help someone get back pay up to $400,000. Get the hell out of here with that. Crazy. Beyond Clothing, we said. Core Medical Group. Yes. You guys, I'm back on the regimen. I'm back on it. I'm doing it accurately. I'm losing weight. I'm down 10 pounds. Core Medical Group is the place for your TRT system to send it directly to your house. Yeah, telemedicine, baby. It's the way of the future. It's COVID-19 free. It's not free, but it's COVID-19 free. It'll ship directly to your house. Go check them out. Also, they have boner pills. You have erectile dysfunction, or you think you might have it, or you want to try it. Either way, hit them up. They'll let you know if it's good for you. Core Medical Group, let them know that Rocco sent you. Perseverance Survival is the home of the original Wilby hoodie, but right now it's hot, so get yourself some Ranger panties with some flair. They got cool designs, tiger stripe, Marine ones, Army ones, all kinds of different ones. Check them out. Modern Gun School. It is a 100% distance learning school where you can get your armor certifications. Go to www.mgs.edu for any other questions. You can use your Voc Rehab. You can use your GI Bill. You'll love it because I love it. Oh, don't forget, veteran.com. You get your chance to win 2 custom motorcycles and $20,000 cash. It is not a trick, y'all. Go to veteran.com. Pick yourself up some swag. Every $5 spent at the store gives you an opportunity to win 2 custom motorcycles and $20,000 cash. Oh yeah, the money goes to a good cause. More to hear about that later. Go check out the podcast. Here's a podcast with my boys from Brotherhood of the Fatherhood. Meow, meow, meow. Don't go. Welcome to the Vinny Rock Podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The Vinny Rock Podcast.
Welcome to the Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast. In this amazing episode, Josh and I get to chat with Vincent Rocco Vargas. And if you don't know who he is, I'm going to tell you in just a minute. But the most important part of this conversation is his most current project, which is really cool. And it's called Veteran. It's Veteran, but with a B. And so we're going to dive into that. But really what I love about this conversation is we chat about love and leading in love. So a little bit about Rocco. He was in the military. He worked for the Department of Corrections. He was on border control. But in 2013, he hung up all his uniforms and has followed a career in entertainment. And his YouTube videos turned into other projects, which now he is currently a role in the TV show Mayans MC, and he plays Gilberto Gilly Lopez. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed this conversation. Let's get it started. Welcome, Vinny. How you doing today?
Good. I dropped my coffee on the way in here.
Oh man.
You know, you do that and you're like, it's going to be a rough day. That's what happened today. We're good. Everything else is good.
Did you redeem any of it, or was it a total loss?
No, man, total loss. As soon as I saw it, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I could see. Oh no, it's all gone.
Yeah. Hit that reset button. It's going to be a good day, right?
Yeah, it's all good. It's
all about perception. How we perceiving the situation. Let's move forward. So, do you have a morning routine? Like, obviously, coffee is part of it.
Yeah, it's just black coffee. It just kind of gets me going. I do like a cold brew.
Right on.
So that's just what I normally do. So yeah. So watching that fall, I was like, man, but it's all good.
Yeah.
No use crying over spilled coffee, I guess.
I don't know. I think the milk changes to coffee in adulthood for most of us, right? Yeah. So, we were chatting yesterday, and I was, I want the listeners to know first and foremost that you have 6 kids living under your roof right now. You have 7, but you have 6 right now. So talk to us about that, man.
Yeah, and right now during the summer, I actually have all 7. So, but no, it's good, dude. So my first marriage, I had 4 kids in 2012-ish, like late 2012. I became a single dad. I took on full custodial rights. There's a lot more to that story that I just don't. It is what it is. Later on, I met my current wife, who has 2 kids, and we blended the family all under one roof, and so that's 6. And then we decided recently to have one of our own together. That's number 7. And then my oldest son, he moved out and went to go live with his birth mom. And so it's this very interesting. I tell people, raising 4 kids alone for a little while was rough until I got a routine. I feel bad for my oldest one because she really was the support that I needed. She was old enough to help me with the few things that I needed while I was trying to do other, like bathing the 3-year-old. She was getting, she was making sandwiches for tomorrow's tomorrow's lunch for the kids for school, whatever the case. And so she kind of had to raise a little faster than normal. But raising 4 alone, just having help, raising 6 was easy, and 7 is the same. And now my oldest is 17 years old. My second oldest is 15 years old. And so me and my wife, when we got married, my now 17 was 14 years old and starting to watch the kids, and I was like, it's actually kind of worked out. We got a babysitter in the house that we trust,
exactly.
And me and my wife, we made sure, because of having so many kids and trying to be in their lives and each one of them getting their fair amount of attention, we also had to focus on the relationship of us, and so we made sure that Friday nights was kind of like our night to either have a dinner or go karaoke, or even if it's just something, even if it was just a walk around the block just together. It was a really good time for us to stay focused on the relationship just as much as we are on the kids, which is part of the foundation of trying to raise a family is keeping that relationship going. So, all in all, it's been a big team effort, and it continues to be this team effort of striving for this family unity of we eat dinner together at the same table. We don't do anything other than that, right? Like when it's dinner time, we all sit down and eat dinner. And that's something that we've maintained to try and keep that old school family kind of thing that my father had for us growing up. So, it's interesting. I think it has its dynamics of trying to give everyone their fair amount of attention. Right now, we're going through that with sports and everything, where the struggle is the balance is shifting.
Yeah. There's this place where you can use those older kids, like, built-in babysitters, and you're kind of riding that wave. And then all of a sudden, somebody's life gets really full. Another kid's life gets really full, and you're just like, I don't know how to manage this.
Yeah. So for a while, we had a daughter. We have a daughter, but she decided she didn't want to wrestle anymore. Sports in our family is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Try and keep them all active in something. I believe sports is a good thing of rooting, team building, also building adversity, right? Like losses, kids dealing with loss and all that. So resiliency is important as a youth to learn, which a lot of our kids don't these days because they get the participation award, right? So my daughter is a wrestler. She's a state champ for females and at 106 pounds in Utah. She's ranked in top 20 in Utah. She is a badass kid, right? And she's been wrestling since she was 8 years old. By chance, I was focusing on my sons as a dad. I focused on my sons early on in my life. Didn't think my daughter's like, they could do cheer or something. And my daughters, I think, were thirsting for the attention from dad. We're like, Dad, we'll wrestle too. And I was like, oh, and this is single dad issues, right? Single dad, like not thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, go ahead. Boom. And so my daughters jumped into wrestling. And I think for the most part, her name is Star. She's our 15-year-old. I think for the most part, she was trying to gain my approval as a dad, as well as my attention. And she did that. She stunned us all. She showed up and she smoked everybody. She became this very talented female, and it got all my attention for a long time.
Yeah.
Just until recently, I started coaching the high school girls team because my two daughters are on the team and we're fully engulfed in it. And she just recently decided that she comes home from the summer and says, I think I'm done with wrestling. And a tough pill for me to swallow. To be honest, I think I'm still having withdrawals of that. There's waves of frustration in that. I think she could be an Olympic wrestler, like legitimately. Yeah. And I don't think she understands the gravity of that, and trying to find the balance of the push and pull from dad. Am I pushing too much? Should I let her choose on her own? Is she old enough to even make a decision or even knows the gravity of this decision? And so I finally sat back and said, sounds good. That's cool. Whatever you want to do. Because I think I've pushed for enough years that I've done my part. And I think she's achieved something that can never be taken from her, being a state champ. She's a state champ 105 and a super state champ at 100 pounds. So it's like, look, she's got her awards. She's got her achievements. As a dad, I've pushed her to strive to those, and I think she's done. And so now we're focusing on the other kids' sports, and that gives us a lot of room to breathe now because her was a big dedication,
We've talked a lot about dads who have adult. They raised adults. They have adults as their kids now, and they're like, that balance of I want them to be in a sport and I want them to learn the lessons, and then they quit and oh no, what do I do? And it's the vision on the other end, like what lessons did it teach them? And the importance was that I was supporting them and getting all in with whatever it is what they were doing, whether I liked it or not.
Yeah. Well, think about it. From 8 till 15, she knows what growth and loss and fight, all these things that, man, I'm blessed that she even learned that for that long of a period, and she's going to take with her for the rest of her life. Maybe she turns around and says, no, she wants it again, but it's not up to me anymore. It's kind of on her table, and she's going to have to decide what she wants to do with this stuff. But like I said, it's hard as a dad. I'm a college baseball player. My wife is a college cheerleader, like a tumbler, right? Mm-hmm. So we're both like, where's the kids that are driven like us, right? Where's the kid like me? I woke up early in the morning. I'm hitting baseballs. I knew I was going to play baseball. I want to be a professional. But since I was 4 years old, I was telling my mom this. It never stopped year round. Since I was 7, I'm like, bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, man, my kids are going to be just like this. Not one of them have the same motivation or dedication to a sport yet. And I'm starting to get worried, right? Like, oh man, did I do something wrong? Like my dad didn't push me as much as I think I'm trying to push my kids. And so I don't know. It's how it is. We're trying to do the best for them. And sometimes I'm fearful that I might not be doing the best for them, just doing the best for myself.
Well, I think being intentional and you're thinking about it a lot, like you're really thought life is focused on, am I doing the right thing? Man, it's hard to fail when you're really asking yourself that and really looking at that almost daily. Am I doing the right thing? It helps you realign. So
I think what's interesting about that and everything is I wonder if it isn't because of all the distractions and technology and everything else, because me and my wife are watching The Last Dance, Chicago Bulls story and all that.
Yeah, it's what a beautiful film.
Incredible. And Kelly was like, every single person who walks on the court, I'm like, oh, that's this and that's this and that's this, and it's like that's Danny Ainge and that's Dan Marley and that's Sam Perkins and she's like, how do you know all these guys? And I was like, you know what? I haven't thought about this in forever because we don't do this with my son Sully.
Yeah.
Me and my dad. It was all on NBC, ABC, CBS. So we watched every single sport, but it's not like that anymore. Like there's a lot of sports that are all on TNT, TBS, these other things. So I wonder if that plays into it as well. Like,
I mean, I was raised in the boxing community. My father's a really well-known cut man in boxing. I've sat and had dinner just by chance. My dad was walking by and Roberto Duran was there and they knew each other somehow. And I'm like, whoa, that's Roberto Duran. I mean, I grew up training in Freddie Roach's gym, not knowing the significance of that. Right. I just kind of show up with my dad and hit the bag, and my dad's my dad's in the corner for someone sparring for a big fight, and not realizing anything, the gravity of what I'm doing. And then as I get older, like boxing is my I just love the fight community. That's why my kids wrestled. That's why I trained for so many years, and it's 100% based on my dad raising me in this fight world of maybe partly he grew up in a rough crowd. We grew up in a rough area. Maybe it was him protecting me, but as well as the sport of it, Puerto Ricans and boxing is kind of this synonymous, how it goes. And so it's just funny things. Like I'm the same, like I can name boxers from back in the day. I could tell you some of the biggest fights that have ever happened and people talk about, I've watched, and I can't say my kids are into watching UFC, right? Yeah. Like none of them are sitting there and enjoying like watching Ronda Rousey era or Conor McGregor era, which are like iconic in sports and will forever be talked about. I can't tell you that they can sit there and say, I've seen her fight before, because every time I put it on, like, hey guys, come sit down. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go to the room.
Yeah. It's all the other choices, so like my son is, he's 6. We tried to get him to play t-ball. We tried to get him to play basketball. He just, absolutely hated it and everything. But yet the kid can code at like low levels and everything at 6 years old. I
know, dude.
It's just what grabs them. So like we're trying to prop that up. Like, okay, he's interested in this. Let's do this.
Yeah, and it's hard for a guy who's like a sports fanatic for me, because I'm like,
me too.
I told one of my sons, my oldest son. All right, we butt heads a lot. He sees the world in a whole different light, and it scares me because it's not reality sometimes. Right? He's like, Dad, what are we going to school for during COVID-19? People's lives are at stake. I'm like, bro, you still need an education. It's all online. And he didn't he is just looking for the easy way out in every answer he does. And this is just their generation. A lot of the kids are just looking for the easiest answer.
Right.
Oh, Dad, I can make millions playing video games. I'm like, you probably can, dude, but not at 13, right? Like not at 14, not at 15, not at 16. When you turn 18 and you have a high school at least diploma, man, and then for me, it's like, well, then it's on you, man. But I
think with that, those guys, they all have trainers. They all have a physical trainer and everything to keep them at
bro, these guys are taking supplements like freaking CrossFitters, bro. They're all it's not, no matter where you strive in life and trying to be successful, there is a work ethic behind it. That's all it is. And some reason, I use my oldest son for this because he's the one right now that is the oldest that I see the lack of like motivation and any kind of work ethic. If it doesn't come easy for him right away, he quits. Right? Like, oh, Dad, I can't. Like, we went to Topgolf. Hardest sport in the world is golf.
Yeah.
Man, Topgolf, it's impossible. And I play it religiously because it's so challenging. I'm like, I'm going to get good at this. Like, this is how I am. Personally, I just love to fail something because I'm like, okay, now I'm motivated to try and get good at that. My son is the opposite. I'm mad. This game is stupid. I don't want to play it again. And I'm like, okay. Where did that come from? But that's the hard thing, is like, I can be real rough on that, but I don't want to be, because then I lose the connection with him. That's probably why he decided to move out. Dad pushes me too hard, and finding that balance, that's always going to loom over me as a regret. Like, did I push him too hard? I don't feel like I did, but I mean, he felt like I did. So what's the right answer?
I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. My dad, he pushed me hard.
Bro.
A lot of stuff. And, we had a bad relationship, through into high school, early years of my military career. But you know what? we're tight now.
Well, that's the funny thing. I tell people that, and I don't, if I'm talking too much, just shut me up, please. But something that's very easy to talk about is family with me, right? Yeah. My father would grow up in the gangs. He's in a gang culture. He grew up in the streets. His father was abusive, right? So his father was abusive, so he stayed on the street. Why go home when you're going to get your ass beat when you get that? You know what I mean? His mom, he'd come home several times with his mom getting pulled out in a stretcher, going to the hospital, heavily. He's a big drinker. He's albino, which didn't help because he's drinking albino. People pick on him. Boom, he starts a fight. And he's just this angry person. So my father was just never home. He grew up in the street. They moved to LA to get away from him. And he joined the gangs. And as that happened, my dad ends up getting arrested later on for a big old gang fight, go to jail or go to the Marines. He joined the Marines. Yeah. We grew up in LA, so obviously there's gangs everywhere. As my brother got older, my brother did a very similar route. My dad was pretty heavy dude, a heavy-handed dude, but I think he was learning from his dad, but didn't want to be his dad, but only knew what his dad did. So there was a little bit of, I guess he softened the touch. My dad wasn't this heavy drinker like his dad was. And my dad also never put hands on my mom, but he definitely, when he was upset or trying to instill discipline, he didn't know how to do that appropriately. He just did what he just thought was. And sometimes it was a little bit like, oh, that was crazy. You know what I mean? And for a long time, I stayed away from home as well. I played so much baseball just so I could be gone. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, got to go to baseball practice. And I can't say when I was younger, I judged my dad for it. I hated my dad for it, as in I'm just not comfortable around that dude. He makes me feel like I'm going to get smacked any second or get yelled at for any second. And then now as an adult, I understand my dad. I don't feel any bad resentment towards him. I get it. He's just doing the best version of his dad that he can do, and I'm doing the best version of that, right? I'm taking what he taught me and toning that completely down further. And maybe the best version of a dad is going to be my son, who's separated from that multiple different generations. But yeah, man, now me and my dad are like best friends, and I love the guy, and he's the sweetest person. And to his grandkids, the guy's the softest dude in the world.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. My dad is just a totally different guy with them and everything. So yeah, it's incredible. But for me, he wasn't around. He was just always working and everything else. So when he was around, the interactions were very negative, probably because he's tired and everything else. But yeah. But same thing. As soon as I could leave, I left, know, and yeah, I've never been back really. Obviously to visit and everything, but yeah.
Well, I think I've talked to many men, and they say, I said, what's the best part of parenting? And now having adult kids or adults and as kids, and they say, grandkids, I get to do everything right that I did wrong. And I don't have to punish. They're like, we get to swoop in and do all the awesome stuff and then be that person that we wished we would have been. And the other thing I was thinking was the fact that we have these examples, and this was a big discussion in our group recently. We have these examples of fathers that we grew up with, and they may have totally failed. They may have been somewhere in between. My dad was a phenomenal father. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but he was a phenomenal dad. But no matter what it is, if we're in a learning state, we can use that to be a good dad. There's just, and that's the conversation we're all having here is we saw where the mistakes or where the right things happened, and we're just improving on that. So that's kind of that whole legacy thing is we pass it, we do our best, and then our kids hopefully will pick up that torch and do their best. And so I think there's a lot of hope. I want to jump back. I love something you said earlier, and this is going to totally take us off topic, but you said that every Friday night. Do you still date your wife every Friday night?
Well, not since the baby. The baby's actually slowed that down. He's too little to leave home. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but here's the cool thing. So since we're a blended family, every summer the kids are gone for about 30 days. Mm-hmm. So my kids go to, the state where their mom's at, then her kids go to this state. And so it's just us. And now it was us with the baby. So we got to do a lot of cool stuff together that was, just going Top Golf alone, me and her and the baby was cool because it's still our time. Just going to dinner is our time. The baby, having a baby at this age was an interesting thing because, I guess we're older than when we had kids when we were younger, and we just think differently. And I guess we have it under control a little bit more. Yeah. And so it's pretty easy to go to dinner and not feel like my baby's going to be, I guess I don't like them to be disruptive to anyone else's dinner, but we have a routine set for him. And so we know when he sleeps and we know, and so we've been dating like that. I'm waiting for him to get a little bit older, and the girls to be a little bit more comfortable for us to take those date nights. But, things have shifted in our family too, because I'm now sober. So, we used to go karaoke and we'd drink and have a good time and then Uber back home. So being sober is something that we're still dealing with in our relationship, that my wife still drinks, and not she just has wine and she's uncomfortable sometimes drinking around me, but I didn't stop drinking because I had a problem. I stopped drinking because it's just a challenge. And it was a challenge I started for having the baby. And now I'm actually going to try and see it through. And I have dreams about it sometimes, but that's part of me growing as a father. My kids always saw me say, hey, it was fights around tonight. Let's go get some beers. So, maybe it's not appropriate, but I used to even ask my daughter, hey, can you get one of dad's sodas? You know what I mean? Things like that, but it's just kind of how I was raised like that too. I was the kid who got the beers for the men watching the fights. And I was honored to have that position.
Right.
I was honored to be the guy to go grab beers. Vinny, go grab beers. Yes, sir. Boom. And to me in the Latino household, that was like a form of respect. They trusted me with the prize of the holding their beers and not dropping them, And so, in my household, me and my wife are figuring out, we just bought golf clubs together. And so we're going to try and start golfing together once we get, into a position where we can leave the baby for a little bit. When my mom comes to visit and watches the baby, we're going to do things like that. And so we're not now, instead of the whole dating, karaoke drinking, it would be karaoke and just hanging out, but as well as other things like hiking together and golfing together and just achieving new goals as a relationship. I think it's fun. And I think as I got older, I've gotten more into, I think I see the closer connection to us in that way than having alcohol introduced to it.
Yeah.
It's just changed a lot of things.
Yeah. So something I like that you said was that you guys just have fun together. You learn together. So there's two types of dating with your wife. There's like the business dating, and then there's like actually dating.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are really good at just dating. A lot of couples I find go out and they talk about like what they need to do with the kids and what's happening next week.
Yeah.
Have you been intentional about that?
It's funny. Sometimes that's cool, right? Because you're like,
absolutely.
You kind of get it off your chest, like, it's bothering me, and I tell you, I've never had a relationship like this. I've never had a relationship where I can communicate complete freely with no judgment and just be like, I feel like I made a bad decision on that. And like, why? And, or I don't agree with you on that choice. And we can go back and forth at it and we might not be happy with it. But at the end, we're like, okay, it's done. It's out of our system. Because if I hold that in my heart and not say it, it's going to come out some other way in a really aggressive manner just because of the way my character is. And so we've now learned how to communicate so openly and freely, even when it's uncomfortable, openly. And that has been huge, man, because besides having that, that backstop of just throwing emotion at it, and saying, hey, this is what I feel. I also have a friend who laughs at my jokes and thinks I'm funny, which is like super cool. Cause it's like, we have a lot of fun together as people, no matter what. Like, people say my best friend. I can genuinely say like, man, I have more fun hanging out with my lady because she gets my jokes. Like she gets my jokes. We can do the look and be like, you saw that? I saw that. And that to me has been so powerful to have that connection that, I don't think I was mature enough to ever have that connection before.
Right. Yep. Yeah. That communication takes just so much time and everything. You talked about, being a mentor to your soldiers and everything. Yeah. We talked earlier or yesterday and everything. And that's something that I learned as well, in the Army, being a sergeant and then a staff sergeant and everything. And for whatever reason, I didn't take that into my home, right away. And, 10 years down the line, now we're finally getting there where I'm just like not pulling punches anymore.
Yeah.
And it completely, like, there's a little friction and everything. But then after you get past that friction, it's just like, why didn't we communicate this openly and honestly before?
Yeah,
and I think it comes down to one other thing you said, and then I'm just going to let you tear loose, is it's because of the place of love. It's like not knowing for sure that it's from that place of love. And that's something you hit on.
Yeah. Like we were saying yesterday, and I'll repeat it here, is like, I believe that true leadership stems from love. I think true parenting stems from love. I don't think there's a difference between the two. When I was taking soldiers to Iraq and Afghanistan, at no point was there a disconnect of love to them. I loved them so much that, those were my kids when I was overseas. And I felt that way dearly because that's how much I cared about their lives, their livelihood, the decisions I made as a leader. Were going to weigh heavily on me for some reason. And it could be because of one of my squad leaders before me who trained me most of the time. And, he really treated me like I was one of his. And that alone just that happened, as well as having kids at a young age. I started I'm trying to understand leadership. And by the time I got in charge of people, I just knew it was time to really treat them as my own. And I started calling them my kids. And I had other people like, why do you call them that? They thought it was funny, but I meant the sentiment completely, because how can you say that you want to lead someone if you don't care about what happens to that individual? Like, I am loving on the greatest scale. It's life and death, plain and simple. And so that scale of like how heavy that can weigh meant that I had to be fully invested. And I was fully invested in my kids overseas. I knew their family. I knew who they were. I knew what drive them and made them tick. And you have to know that as a leader. You have to know that as a dad as well. I need to know that I have 7 kids. All 7 have different personalities. They're raised by the same 2. Different personalities. They all tick a different way. And if I try and lead them all the same way, I'm going to lose half these kids. They're going to be all over the place, right? It's the same as my soldiers. Everyone is raised different. Some have dads, some have moms, some are adopted. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to know that. And when you know how someone is raised, if you know how someone ticks, you know how to motivate them. You see what I'm saying? Like, one of my kids, Star, I'll just say that, my 15-year-old, I can be the drill sergeant. If I'm the drill sergeant, she listens. She gets it. That motivates her. I can't be drill sergeant with my oldest one, Belle. I do drill sergeant with her. She shuts off completely. Like, I've seen her just be like, no, I'm done, Dad. Done. I'm like, oh, my bad. Okay. I picked it up a little bit too far for her. I can just be like, listen, all you got to do is do this. We've trained this, right? It's this motivational tone where I'm talking at her level. I brought up they say in the drill sergeant community, taking off the hat and being human. I become real human with my daughter at that time, saying, yo, here's the deal. Here's what we need to do in this next match, whatever the case. And she can find the motivation. She can understand where I'm coming from and how I'm trying to motivate her. With Star, it's like, you're better than that. You're better than that. And she's just like, boom, she gets it, right? And everyone is different. Hunter, which I realize now, wasn't into that aggressiveness. And I'm dad raising my firstborn son, trying to think he's going to be a man. And my son is not me. And it took a lot. It takes to the point where he doesn't live with me anymore. I pretty much pushed my own son away, which is painful. At the same time, bro, he is happy. And I can just say, thank you, Lord, that I was willing to let him go, because I didn't have to. I just knew like it wasn't feeling right anymore. He was feeling anxiety about being around Dad because Dad is pushing him to do other things than video games and whatever he wanted. And so those are lessons that I'm taking with me for the rest of my life. Like, I almost feel bad for all my kids watching me raise my baby boy now, because I love them all the same, but Dad has matured tenfold. You know what I mean? And so it's like they're watching me hug and kiss. I've never seen a baby grow. Like, I've been deployed. I've been, I've chosen another job. I've gone to selections. I've gone to whatever the case. I've never seen a baby grow from where it was to where he is now. We're coming up on 6 months, and I've never seen that process. And I am so like, gratitude is all I can say for COVID-19. The weirdest thing, it has allowed me to be here to experience this. I'm almost nervous. That baby has a closer connection to me than any of my kids. And I feel bad. Like, I feel like I shouldn't feel guilty. But at the same time, he deserves that. The baby deserves that. He deserves the best version of me. And all my kids deserve that. But they also have the older visions of me. A father who struggled with coming back from war, a father who's gone through divorce, a father who's raised him alone and struggled with trying to figure out the finances. And they've had this dad who's gone through so much turmoil. And sometimes, it's reared its ugly face at them, directed it towards them because of stress and everything else. And so it's interesting, but like the whole thing has always been based off of love. Like, I tell you, like leadership is a love story, man. And some macho men out there would not want to say that out loud. They would feel almost uncomfortable with putting leadership and love in the same sentence. But if you root it as deep far as you can, the only reason you give a shit about leading anybody is because you have to love them if you're going to lead them correctly. And if you don't love them, you shouldn't be in a leadership position of them.
So true. So true. I love the correlation between your experience in the military Ranger Battalion, correct? And raising kids, because I think a lot of people see it completely different when really leadership is loving. I think that's an incredible correlation. Do you get flack for that?
I break that down a little bit more if you don't mind me,
please,
Scott. Because some people are gonna they don't get that, and think about it in this way. And where I was raised is leaders eat last. Well, tell me a dad who cooks a steak and eats it first, then serves his family. Because if he did that, what a jerk, right? No, you cook the food for your family, and me and my wife, our system is she usually serves all the food and we sit down and we eat. Whoever wants seconds, the kids always get seconds first. Dad doesn't jump and grab another steak real quick before they get the rest of it. No, I want my kids' bellies to be full. And if there's not enough food for me, I'll figure it out because I'm dad. Same as overseas. I made sure my soldiers always had food in their bellies and they were always eating at the same time. A kid comes and wakes me up at night, so he's scared. He's got a boogeyman under his bed. I don't tell him to go in that damn room himself. Go check it out real quick before I go in there. No, I say, follow me. Let me turn on the light. Look, son, it's clean down here. There's no issues. And so that is the same exact thing of me being overseas and wanting to enter a door first. All these different things we think about in leadership, it correlates to raising kids. Like I said, the different personalities in the military, different personalities of kids, it's all the same, and like I said, it's all rooted in love.
Yeah, I believe that some men will ask, well, how do I be a better dad? I'm like, be a better man. Like, being a better man will make you a better husband. It'll make you a better father.
It's funny you said something, Scott, earlier, and I believe in it. If you're not going to sleep at night questioning your parenting, like, do you even give a shit? Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel bad for daily decisions made, right? Like, if I had to tell my daughter no for something, I'm going to sleep thinking, like, was that the right answer? Was it not? Is there a different approach I could have handled? Yesterday, two of the kids got into a yelling match, and I said, hey, both of you, shut up. What's wrong with you, right? And I'm thinking, like, did I have to come in and just say, shut up? Or could I say, hey, what's going on? Right? I question every decision made. And if I didn't, I'd be worried that I even give a shit about being a dad. Do I care about their, no, I question it all. And I'm not happy with some of the decisions I made. And I'm trying to change those. And I'm continually trying to grow as a dad. But, we have nights on our pillow, like looking at each other and thinking, like, I don't know if that was the right decision. I guess we'll figure that out next year. Right? Like, so here's a good example. COVID-19, crazy time. Who's going back to school? My 15-year-old said she didn't want to. She wants to go 100% online. She's scared. Okay. I'm fear of the backlash of not having kids around and growing up in a society where, like, just socially being active with people, right? Communication, relationship building, all these things that I find are very important. She said, no, she doesn't want to. So we have them in one of the best schools in Utah. Like, I'm talking, we really invested in their education. And she's like, no. So we pulled her out. And I swear to you, all night, I'm like, are we sure about this? Like, she's going to be going to school online. And my wife's like, look, we can't push her. She doesn't want, and it's the devil and the angel. It's the, two different viewpoints, and my wife is definitely the one voice of reason. And I'm the voice of, oh shit, I don't know if we're right, and so that's what our conversation last night was. And it's a good, healthy question, in the end, it's like, we'll see how this year goes, and hopefully, she'll make better decisions herself. Not better. This is her decision. I'm not saying it's bad. Hopefully she finds this is either for her or it's not for her, and she speaks up so we can do it, so just crazy.
Yeah, it's been obviously a hot topic on social media amongst our friends with kids in middle school and high school where they're developing at this age, and we just want them to be socially interactive because we have a very, very loving home, and our middle schooler is still dealing with a ton of anxiety and stress, and he's a social being. He loves, and it's destroying his happiness at a certain level, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. Raising kids is tough. Like what? Yeah.
That's what me and I said. Like, I said, I hope we don't look back at this decision and later regret that we made that decision. You know what I mean? Because like, we don't know if it's right or wrong. No one knows. Like, there's no one out there that can tell me like, this is healthy, this is not healthy. Look, she goes to school and can get bullied too, and that's unhealthy too. You know what I'm saying? And so there's this weird space of like, you know, as long as your heart is in the decision, you just go with it. And, you know, it's a family thing. It's a family decision, man.
Yep. No, I mean, my wife asked me the question last night, you know, should we let our kid go to, you know, first grade and everything this year? And I told her, I don't know, you know, but I agree with you guys. It's a decision that we have to make. And then I think, you know, after that, it's just like you said, watching the feedback, seeing how they, you know, respond to it. You know, are there other ways to get them involved with kids? You know, so yeah, I'm not sure there is right or wrong in this situation. It's just, you know, make a decision, watch for the feedback, and then, you know, whatever happens with the kids and everything, just guiding them. You know, it goes back to that mentorship.
Yeah, that's a daily thing, I think, as a parent is you're always looking for the feedback. Everything you do, you put him in a sport to look for the feedback. You know, does he even love going anymore? Does he not love going? You know, everything they're doing is feedback. That's what we should be, right? We should be the buffer between them and stress, and trying to see, is it too much stress? Is it a healthy amount of stress? Like, I'm cool with my kids stressing out. Like, I'm cool with my kids losing. Freaking lose all day. I love that shit, right? Because I can come in and be dad and be like, it's okay. It's all right. You know, but when it gets to the point where emotionally it's damaging, okay, well, then is it healthy anymore? You know, and that's kind of like, we are the buffers of their stress and trying to mitigate what is a healthy amount and what's not.
Yeah. They still have to. I love that you value sports so much. And it's been different for my family because my oldest son did sports through middle school, but he really found his place in music and band. And like, it's where he shines. He's in leadership. He's found his place. He is extremely committed to it. He is all in, right? And he wins and he loses at things all the time. And I think that's really the scenario we're looking for, is opportunity to train through winning and through losing. Because resiliency is built through going through those situations where you don't win, or you make a bad decision and you lose, or look like
you don't want to be 19, 18 years old and suffer your first loss. Yeah. Your first heartbreak is the hardest thing you've ever done. Like, my first two heartbreaks were baseball, big games, and I didn't come through. And it broke my heart, and to the point where in tears, thinking like, this game is terrible. I suck. I hate it. All that. Like, I've gone through the emotional roller coaster of what sports and emotionally invested into a sport can do to you. It'll break you. It'll embarrass you. I lost an all-star game in college, junior college all-star game. I lost the game off an error in the outfield. A picture in the paper. My mom's like, Vin, you did good. I'm like, what? No, I didn't. I just lost the game. Like, embarrassing. It was a hard thing because, like, you got to show up to school the next day. People make jokes. Like, all those things are tough. But you know what? It built me to, like, you know what did I do wrong that day? How do I fix it? And how do I get better? But I never would have had that mentality if I wasn't playing baseball at a young age. That's a game of failure. It's a game of the best players hit 30%. You know, and I'm blessed that was the sport that I played, because there was so much adversity growing up. I've been around the gang violence. You know, I've seen my friends get killed from freaking drive-bys. I haven't seen a person. I've heard it. It's just been in our culture of, we lose guys from gang violence all the time. So it's like, just death alone is probably the biggest thing to try and understand as a kid. You know, and then growing up and losing so much, and then finding these small breaths of air of like, success. Those are what I challenged myself to find more often, you know. And then I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't realize baseball was definitely giving me the upper hand on dealing with a lot of adversity in the military. Losing people in the military is hard, man. Carrying my buddies to their final resting place, watching their wives hug them the one last time. All these things were very, very emotionally hard for me. And still to this day, I struggle with some of these. But I feel like I wouldn't be as successful today if it wasn't for sports teaching me the early phases of loss, of dusting yourself off and moving forward again, right? And sports are a good way of doing that. Not the only way. It's just the way that I was taught and the way that I continue to teach my kids.
What do you do when you've made a mistake in the day, in the way that you talked with your kid, or a decision you made and you're like, that was really bad?
Bro, I own it.
All right.
I own it right away. Hey, come here. I was mad. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted like that. Like, I own it, man. How could you not own it, man?
I don't know.
I tell people in leadership and as a drill sergeant is probably where I learned a lot of my like things, because I see myself make mistakes all day with these dumb soldiers where I would just want to lose my mind over, right? Like, oh my God, right? They're worse than any kid, because now they have a rifle in their hand.
Yeah, dangerous.
And so, you have to be honest. Kids are smart. And if you're not honest, they'll catch it, and you lose respect when you don't. Right? I call it. There's this power bar. Right? There's this gauge right here. It starts here when you walk in the room as a drill sergeant. They see your hat, they see your badges, and they respect you. You open your mouth, it's up to this thing to either stay here or drop. If you say some dumb crap where they lose respect, boom, boom, and you lie and they catch you, boom, and you start losing respect from people from day one. You walk in the room, first impression. Second, open your damn mouth and see what comes out. Okay? If you're not honest, you lose respect. And it's the same with your kids. If you can't say, hey, I'm wrong, to your kids, you'll lose their respect. They will forever know, like, nah, dad doesn't admit when he's wrong. Or dad cheats when he plays games. Like, things like that, right? Like these little things, they hold it, right? They will always identify these little insecurities that you have as a parent too. And if you don't own those, like my kids know I struggle with certain things with post-traumatic stress. What a hard conversation that is. So they're like, look, dad struggles with burns, right? I worked on a family of 7 that blew up it was supposed to be a kerosene, I think, lighter that they put gasoline in them. They put it in the center while they're eating dinner, and it blew up, right? In the winter of Afghanistan, which is it's really cold. This happens quite a bit. I worked as an infantry dude, but the days I wasn't working on mission, I would go and support in the medical side. I had a background in EMT, and so I don't know, it's just a passion of mine to try and help. I worked on this family for almost 10 days straight, and one after the other were dying left and right. By the end of it was just the mom who survived. And I mean, day in, day out, you're scrubbing flesh off these kids' bodies and trying to get rid of the old flesh and help them from not getting disease and infection, and as well as covering them back up so they can hopefully, maintain their own body temperature at night. And then you hope in the morning they show up again, and some don't. And I was going to bed with the smell of burnt flesh in my nose for a week. And I didn't realize how much it affected me. I just knew, like, I just want to keep helping these kids. Also, having kids the same age was like, oh my God. And not knowing, and the way I was in the military, you just pile up emotions and you just put them away, right? Yeah, whatever. As I got older, I realized how much it really affected me. And we had an incident where my son burned himself with water. He was heating up the baby bottle, and I heard him scream and right away knew, but I couldn't do anything about it. I actually had this little panic episode of fear of what I was going to walk into. And it's just like, and I don't want to get emotional about it, but that was hard for them to see dad out of control. I'm the guy that's in control, right? I'm the guy that has this family handled, and I was completely out of control. And, he left the house not understanding. I couldn't even come to him and say, I'm sorry for like not even trying to help, just completely just screaming. And it was a really uncomfortable conversation to have. So I just kind of went to work. I said, I'm out of here. And my wife was handling it and taking care of it. And he was good. It was a scare, and it wasn't anything serious. Right. But it was enough that it took me somewhere else. And, that day I was actually driving to counseling is what I was going to, because I know this is an issue of mine. I don't know how to be in control in those moments because I just lose myself. So I'm actually at counseling, and I broke down to the counselor saying, dude, it happened again, and I just want to go say sorry. He goes, go. So I left counseling, drove straight over there, but I'm calling my wife the whole time and I'm crying. I'm like, I hate not having control because my kids are looking at dad as like, what's wrong with this dude? So I go to a school and give him a big old hug and just tell him I'm sorry. I'm going to talk to him later tonight, explain it. So we had a big family dinner, and it was an emotional thing. And my 15-year-old again goes, I had no idea, Dad, you were in combat? And I'm like, You know what I mean? But those are those moments where, as a dad, you can't be afraid of just putting it out there and being honest. Like, look, I struggle with this. This is my weakness, right? And I'm working with it. And they know I go to counseling for this. And it's not an excuse, right? It's never an excuse for why I freaking lash out at a this weird moment of just completely uncontrol. And it's not like out of control, like throwing things. It's just out of control, like I'm not doing anything. I'm just kind of like in a moment of stutter when I should be acting and protecting and saving, And so that conversation is hard, but that's part of what I say. Like, if I do something wrong, I own it as soon as I possibly can. And I might not be in the moment to own it right away. I might have to own it later that night. Like, yeah, that was a little harsh, or that was wrong. I have to own it, man. Or else I think, like I said, we can lose respect from our own kids, and eventually your word is nothing to them.
Yeah. I think through messing up, showing them where we messed up, talking about it, you're actually making it better. I mean, it's almost messing up actually gives us a lot more opportunity to teach, right?
It shows them
too bad, right?
And it shows them they're not always going to be right, and they could say that they're wrong.
I think as fathers, we need to understand and have permission to mess up as long as we're failing forward. Like Maxwell says, you take it, you learn from it, you get better the next time.
Yeah.
For me, it's extrasensory overload, and it happens with. It can be the TV is on and Sully is screaming and all these things happen, and and then I just completely lose myself. And sadly for me, I wish I wouldn't do anything, but I do react. And I will throw things. And
I understand the root of where that comes from. And probably some people will be like, whoa, but look at, you can admit that. And those are the things. One, my wife understands me, so she also mitigates that.
Yeah.
And which is what a team player that is, yes. Right? And so, your wife, I'm sure, identifies and goes, whoa, let's fix this, or go outside, get out of here. Go outside.
Yep. We're getting into a bad space. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is crazy.
I think most men struggle with that. We just did an episode about anger. Like it's just a thing that men deal with, and it's not always anger. It's these emotional things that we're used to bottling up or don't know how to handle, or we shut down. I do this all the time. I do it all the time.
Yeah, we grew up with men don't have emotion, and being in an alpha male community of fitness or whatever it is those are even 10 times that. You know what I mean? You get ridiculed, and just saying I go to counseling, some guy's like, "What's wrong with you? You weak?" I'm like, all right, bro. You'll be calling me soon saying that you need help, and I'll be like, yeah, get counseling, bro.
No, I'm actually strong, and I want to be stronger. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. So you were a ranger, you were a leader in service, you were a drill sergeant. You've done some YouTube stuff. You've been in a TV show. I mean, you have a creative side, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how is that? What are you doing now? You've got all these things going on. Are you still doing Mayans?
When they call me back, I am on the show for sure. I'm a main character on that show, and whenever the COVID-19 gets figured out in Hollywood, we'll be back. We'll be back to season 3. But I've always on the side. I'm a writer, so I wrote a book about transition, and I don't publish it I don't promote it very much because I feel like people will find it when they need it. You know what I mean? People will find it when they need it, and if they want it, they know where to get it. And if they want it for free, I'll send them one. I don't care. It's not about making the money off it. It's about I put in the effort to tell my story. So a lot of things in writing. I have blogs about my kids. I have blogs about parenting. I have blogs about leadership. All those you can find on my website. And, I create music, so I write poetry, but like sometimes poetry isn't received very well from people or won't even take the time to listen to it. So I've turned it into music. And so I have a few songs, and I have, I think, 3 more coming out, hopefully by the end of next month.
Right on.
And it's all with the idea of, look, I'm a creative in the sense where I feel like anything I can write. I enjoy writing. I enjoy breaking down emotions and putting it into words better than what was done for me. And so I can express post-traumatic stress. I can express like dealing with loss in words better than I can just talking to someone. And so I write them. And sometimes, like I said, people won't read them because it's a blog. Okay, well then, will you listen to a song? Because I'll put it in music. And so anything in the sense of writing is what I really like to do in the creative side. And so poetry, books, I've written scripts, music, and it's all in the same. The goal is to just put my emotions out there on paper and as honest and as raw as I possibly can. And I think the best criticism I get back is, I felt like you were telling my story. And that to me is like, well, that means that I was super honest and it was enough for, because we all are the same. We talked about this, guys. Like, we all go through the same thing. We're all dads wanting to do the right thing. We want to financially support our families. We want to find happiness within ourselves and find our purpose, right? We all just want to have the same things. I want to wake up in the morning, feel content with what I'm doing in life and not feel like I have to continue to chase something different. But right now, I've made it my passion to try and help the veteran community first, because I don't think we have strong enough leaders or enough voices. The reason I walked away from as a federal agent was to focus 100% on, being a public figure in the veteran community and hoping that microphone grows, meaning the bigger my social media would be, is the bigger microphone for veterans. And if I can help guide them and direct them based off of my own failures, well, then, we have people helping in a bigger, I guess, platform. That's why I started Veteran, right? Veteran is just the sense of becoming a better veteran. There's too much of a negative stigma on the veteran community. People talk about the bad things about us, but they never talk about the good. They talk about suicide, they talk about post-traumatic stress, they talk about PTSD, but they don't talk about the success in our community. For some reason, that's not shareable. For some reason, that doesn't get likes, right? For some reason, that doesn't generate a revenue stream for nonprofits. It's always the negative, negative, negative. And I don't agree with that, right? And so I don't, and, people get mad at me about it all the time, and it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't promote any negative thing. I don't promote 22. People are like, hey, man, would you work with our organization? I'm like, I can't. Personally, I won't. And don't be offended by that, because that's my choice. You know what I mean? Because I promote positive. We have to move forward. We have to be successful. And the only time we find success is we stop victimizing ourselves. You have to be accountable for your actions, fix those mistakes, and move forward. And it's just like, I do public speaking all over the nation about leadership and about transition. And every transition speech, there's a civilian there that really cares, and a lot of people do. They care about this subject. And they say, how can we help more? And I tell them, stop helping. Stop helping. Like, we don't need a handout. I don't need someone to put my pants on for me. I don't need anything. I need to be pushed into saying, hey, all you have to do is do it yourself. If you want to be successful, you got to put your pants on. You got to get out that door and start applying for jobs. Someone calls me and says, I don't have a job. I'm like, have you applied for Walmart? Because I was a car salesman. I was an Uber driver all at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I'll do whatever I have to do to pay the bills. But that's just a temporary thing until I get to the next thing. But people don't think like that. You get out of the military and they're expecting the world to hand them a freaking free job that pays $60,000, $70,000 a year. And that's unrealistic thought process. And then they get mad at the government because the government's not helping them enough. Well, it's because the government's been helping too much for so many years. People are now expecting it. So it's this entitlement mentality that has happened in the veteran community that has now slowed us down. It's essentially, we shot ourselves in the foot by expecting the world to give us anything. And the truth is, no one from day one, we did this voluntarily. We're the only, in 20 years of volunteer military, 20 years of volunteering, you did it to yourself. You joined because you believed in a purpose. Well, now continue to find a new mission, find new success, find something else that gives yourself purpose. And drive towards that thing, and you're going to fail, and it's going to be hard, and that's just the way it goes.
It's a totally different perspective. Stop helping. Like, all right, now I can't tell you how many people are doing the 22 push-up challenge, and it's been going on forever and ever. Yeah. And I'm like, it's bringing awareness, but at what cost? What cost is it bringing awareness? So dig into that a little more. Like, why are you so against this?
Well, think about this, man. Let's be aware about suicide. We're all aware. Suicide is an epidemic in humanity. This isn't a veteran issue. Veterans right now have marketed it to be our issue, right? We don't have a monopoly on suicide. Okay, it's not true. The truth is, suicide is a humanity issue. Law enforcement, kids, everything. It's a problem. Okay, we've just kind of monopolized it as if it's us. No, we need to get down to the root of it. Everyone's aware of suicide. How do we prevent it? Okay, and for me, there's so many different aspects. One is fit. Someone gets out of the military. Why aren't they joining like an 18-week boot camp as they get out? You get a 16-week boot camp to get in. Get a 16 boot camp to get out. And when you get out, let's go do a brain scan. Let's do hormone checks. Okay, let's get their fitness levels back. Let's get them counseling. All these things that should be done before you start putting a Band-Aid over a gushing wound. Right? You need to stop the bleeding. Right? This comes from traumatic brain injuries, post-traumatic stress, hormone deficiencies. Straight up, that's what happens. Counseling, those things. You get your brain checked to make sure like everything's functioning and firing off the right way. You get your blood work done, make sure you have the proper hormones. Most guys get out of the military, their testosterone has dumped to the ground. Okay, you talking about that's not depressing? That doesn't cause suicide? Oh, bro, yes, it does. Change that real quick. Counseling. They need to fix the wounds. You need to let it out. You need to accept whatever things you've done. You need to talk about it. You need to get counseling. And there's multiple different versions of counseling. There's EMDR, there's group, there's all kinds of things. I can't even tell you how many things. Once you've fixed that part, the inside, we can start fixing the outside. Fitness is a huge one. Okay. And then you start going out there. Now you can start doing things. Now you can find your purpose. Now it could be wood chiseling, horseback riding, sports, whatever all these nonprofits are doing, right? They want to take veterans out to go fishing. Yeah, but does the veteran even give a shit about fishing? Right? Is that his thing? Because if it's not, you're just paying for an entertaining day, but he still has no purpose, right? He still has no reason. And so we have to get them through a 16-week, some kind of boot camp that's like, let's get you back into. First, make sure you're back in fighting form because life is a fight, man. It's a fight. And then 2, figure out what they want to do. And whatever it is, they got to attack that, man. They got to attack that like they do in the military.
Dude, let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's figure out how to take action on that. Put that together. And let's just do it.
I'm down. Let's do it, Josh. Trust me. I've been writing this. I've been working on this.
Good.
That's incredible. It is.
That's really so veteran. Right now, veterans doing like a motorcycle giveaway, right? Why is that? I love motorcycles. I'm on a Mayans MC show, but the truth is, hopefully, it's a marketing scheme to raise money for veteran, right? It's a marketing scheme. The shirts all have positive messages. They all mean something. I made every single shirt design because they mean something. Mm-hmm. But the end state goal is the money of that is going to hopefully building the first veteran transition center here in Salt Lake City. It costs money, right? I'm not going out to investors who don't have the same heart. I'm not going out to an investor that doesn't really understand what I want. I'm trying to raise that money myself to put right back into it to build this for the community. Because once we build one, it's like, if you build it, they will come, brother.
Let's do it. Yeah. So you brought some really amazing things to light. Like when you are in active service, you are always moving. Your brain is probably always on or mostly on. You're physically always on. And and when you get out, you're probably at that age where your hormones and your body are completely changing. You probably experienced some traumatic stuff if you were deployed. Like, what would we do if it weren't from the military? We would not have fundraisers. We would say, hey, you need to get all of your blood levels checked, make sure that everything's leveled out, and take care of that. You need to be exercising. You need to have counseling. So why all of a sudden are we, it's like a big light went off in my head when you started explaining. It's like, no, duh.
Yeah.
It's like
the foundation needs to be laid first before you can do anything else. Yeah. It's like I said, people are putting Band-Aids over a blood gushing wound. You got to put the tourniquet on first, stop that bleeding, fix that bleeding, and eventually you'll start wrapping it with other, bandages. I don't know why it's taken so long for anyone to understand this. And, it's a very strange thing, but either way, there's answers for this, right? There's answers at least to start trying in a better light instead of saying, let's just throw some weird nonprofit at them. Like, no, let's actually fix them first and then let them find their way. Yeah.
There's some organizations out there that really help veterans get work, or entrepreneurial groups that help veterans. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that it's always holistic, like this holistic approach of, all of these things that we need to pay attention to and teach them in. Like, look, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're a hard worker. Like, how does that translate now? Like, let's do it. Let's get everything in line and do it.
Well, and we don't have any help on our side. When you go to the VA and you tell them you're a veteran that has post-traumatic stress, they give you the concoction. They give you about 4 different pills, one to keep you awake, one to put you to sleep, one to keep and it's like, whether the VA really believes that's the answer or not, it doesn't matter. It's not helping guys really fix their issues. It's just they're coping with them now. It's just like alcohol is for people, right? You're just giving yourself something to help cope with it, and that's never the answer, right? We need to get down to the root of it and fix them. And then instead of administering any kind of pharmaceutical medication right now, we need to figure out if that's even what they need.
Yeah, we gotta have an active approach, like not a prescriptive approach, unless it's prescribed, not a medicinal prescriptive approach. We need to have an active prescriptive approach, like a holistic. Like I kind of hate that term, but it makes sense in this situation where you want to look at the mind, the body, and how do you support yourself and thrive. And you've thrived. I mean, you thrived. You're a veteran, so you're coming from that place.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I think every day is a try. I tell people it's like a tightrope balancing act. I always feel like I could screw this up any minute, and I'm hoping not to. I really am doing everything I can to just keep moving forward. Right now, I've kind of put it on my shoulders to help the veteran community. And I'm hoping someone else comes in here and takes that torch and runs with it so I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But right now, I feel like it's important. I didn't mean to take this space. It just kind of fell into my lap, and I've ran with it, and I've noticed how much it's needed. And so I'm trying to fill that gap as long as I have to.
Yeah. So for our listeners, where can they find out more about Veteran?
Yeah. Veteran, you can go to veteran.com. It's veteran with a B instead. That's really what we're doing, the giveaway, but you can follow my social media, kind of understand the heart of what we're trying to do. My social media is Vincent Rocco Vargas on every platform, I think. I'm not too hard to find. And once you see me, it'll be hard to forget. And if anyone, I answer every single message. There's no admin who runs my page. Well, not now,
Someday
but yeah. But I answer everything. So if you have a question, you can ask me directly, and I'll answer you within a day, guaranteed.
That's incredible. That's great. So, one last thing you want to say about parenthood, fatherhood, and leadership?
I think it's ever evolving. Don't get stuck to one idea as if it's right. Things change. Life changes. People change. As a leader, I have to be able to mold myself as well. As much as I'm molding them, I have to mold myself. I'm always studying. I'm always reading. I'm always looking at new ideas. And I have to be open-minded enough to take some of those ideas and run with them. Because if not, then I'm my dad, or my dad's his dad. You know what I mean? We have to be able to move and shake and adjust fire at all times. And as every kid gets raised, it's like, okay, that's gone. Next, I'm changing that, and I'm going to continue to do this in leadership. If I wrote a leadership book 5 years ago, it would be completely different now, and as much as I've been working on a leadership book, by the time I finally finish, I'm probably going to go back to chapter 1 and want to rewrite it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how honest this all is. Be able to move with the punches, be flexible, and knowing that every kid is different, every personality is different, and everyone needs to be raised and led differently.
Rocco, thank you very much for chatting with us. We really appreciate what you're doing, and your insights on parenting are awesome. Probably because they fall in line with what I believe, probably what Josh believes. All those people that are right out there are the ones that agree with me. But so thanks a lot, man.
No problem. Thanks, guys. All right. Heading off to work now.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this podcast of the Brotherhood of Fatherhood. And thanks to Rocco for sharing his heart with us about parenthood, leadership, serving, and now his veteran movement. And go check that out. It's www.veteran.com. And veteran's basically veteran, but spelled with a B. I know I went there and I ordered a shirt. So his shirts are cool and he designed them all. So go pick one up, pick two up, pick three up. They're awesome. If you enjoyed this podcast, just hit that subscribe button. And if you've listened to us and you've enjoyed what you heard, give us a nice little review. We would really appreciate it. That's what drives this forward. That's what gets this in the ears of more people. So thank you so much for joining our show. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you.